to talk about Facebook. We're recording now, so yeah. Apparently we're talking about Facebook. I don't know what's happening.
Well, welcome to...
There's no name yet, so welcome to this scuffed-ass podcast.
Greg and Chandler
No. Welcome to this scuffed-ass podcast.
No, I thought we'd talk about one of the ongoing shenanigans of Facebook is that they're announced that they're going to have a cryptocurrency.
Really?
For Facebook. It's going to be tied into several credit card companies, Uber, Instagram, I think, lots of other stuff. And I don't know if you heard of that. And what's your impression?
I don't know. I don't understand cryptocurrency that much, to be fair.
Okay.
So, but Facebook fucking sucks, dude.
Well, because the reason I brought this up, Maxine Waters just called a Senate hearing and wants Facebook and some of them to appear and explain what their intentions are.
With the cryptocurrency or just with existence?
With the cryptocurrency, the quote is... continuing its unchecked expansion and extending its reach into the lives of users. With the announcement of its new Libra cryptocurrency, the company, she said, has repeatedly shown disregard for the protection and careful use of its users' data.
That's true.
So from what I've known about the Libra, I've been following cryptocurrencies for a couple of years, and one of the things that people are waiting for mass adoption is, when's Facebook gonna adopt one? When's Amazon gonna adopt one? When's Starbucks going to adopt one? And if so, which one are they gonna do? Well, Facebook just decided to create their own blockchain, and they're calling it the Libra. And apparently,
why not call it fucking Face Chain? You missed a golden opportunity there.
They did. Facecoin.
Facecoin, Face Chain, Coinbook.
Coinbook. When it actually comes out, it's codenamed Project Libra, but we'll see when it actually comes out. They are partners with a lot of people, and apparently to get a masternode to buy into it takes like $10 million.
Nuts.
And what they're going to do is it's a stable coin, so they're taking several different currencies from around the world, and they're going to average it, I guess, and that's how much one Libra is going to be worth. So I think for investment purposes, if you're looking to speculate, it's going to be more like TrueCoin or some of those other stable coins. So like you said, you're not very what did you say? Yeah, you're not very knowledgeable.
Okay, well, I'm pretty knowledgeable, just not about crypto. Don't be a dick.
No, I said knowledgeable in cryptos. So it said they're partnering with Visa, MasterCard, Spotify, and Uber.
Jesus.
And it's actually going to be run out of Switzerland. The bank is going to be out of Switzerland. And, Facebook has intruded in so much of people's lives. Should they be getting into that?
Should Facebook now have access to your money?
Well,
they have access to your location, and they abused it enough where it had to go to like a federal court case.
Right.
because they were literally, taking all of your data, every bit of it, and just using that to deliver ads to you. Which I get, that's how Facebook makes money, that's how that's how YouTube and Google make money, is ads.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's a different... Have you noticed a lot of times when you're scrolling through Google, you get some stupid fucking ads for products you'd never care about. But if you're scrolling through Facebook, you notice, dude, I was just looking at that exact product on Amazon. Why the fuck am I seeing an ad for it? I've never seen an ad for it before.
Right.
Like, Facebook's fucked up.
Yeah, I remember one time I was in Kentucky, and you're on the road eating lots of shitty fast food, and went and bought some Tums at a CVS. Checked my Facebook post a little bit later. Cup of water. And sure enough, there's an ad for Pepto-Bismol. 2 hours later.
I already drank out of it, so...
It's like, really? Like you're tied into my, CVS, what I bought at CVS, and I'm going to see ads for it. Very intrusive in my mind.
It's in everything. That's why.
But
the only thing I really use Facebook for anymore is Messenger. Just because that means I don't have to give my phone number out to people.
That's
it's
true.
just an easy way to text people. Or if I am super bored and have scrolled through all of Twitter,
right,
and there's nothing left, then it's like, alright, it's 3 a.m. and I need something to do. Facebook it is.
And I don't have the Facebook app, so I cannot get Messenger on just the desktop version. And the reason I don't have the Facebook app, I didn't download it, is when I picked up my new phone, I was talking to the guy at the Verizon store, and he was saying that that's one of the big things that eats your battery life. So because no matter what, it's always on.
It's always running.
And it's always checking your location, even if you don't have your...
on Android phones.
Yeah.
Like...
I guess I don't know about Apple.
So I know some. And I also remember Steve Jobs back in the day. It was... I don't remember which iPhone it was. But it was during an iPhone keynote where he said, any app that wants to know your location, we don't tell them they have to make a pop-up that asks if you want them to know your location. No, we tell them they have to go through us, tell us what they want to do with your information, and then we give you a pop-up that says, this company wants your location for these reasons. Do you wish to allow it? And if you say no, your location services to that app are blocked by Apple.
Right.
Which is cool, but Android couldn't do that, even if they wanted to. There's so many variations of... Yeah, there's so many variations of hardware, and because it's open source, there are variations of the software. Like, your phone and a Google Pixel 3 are not running the same version of Android. So it's super hard for that to work. And that's why some apps work better on iPhones than they do on Android, is because they're only working towards a very small set of hardware and a very small set of software.
Right. Which is good and bad. I see that as a very positive thing for Apple.
Right.
But can they be too stringent? This person wants to put an app on the Apple Store, but we have one just like it, so we're not going to allow it.
Right.
It is there discrimination, I guess, against a little guy,
There can be. Especially, it's not super hard to get an app put on Apple's App Store, but there are more restrictions than the Google Play Store. Google Play Store, you can slap anything on there and call it an app.
Right.
Whereas Apple says, no, you have to do this. It has to be at least this. So it's harder, But I think in the end, for the user, it makes it a better experience. But I think the biggest reason, like, that Android would be better is there is variation. There's customization. Apple's software is so dead set.
Yeah.
And you have to wait until, the next year's refresh of the software to maybe get a new, like, dark mode. There's in-system dark mode on Android. Has been for years. Apple's getting it in October. Because they just didn't think people needed it. People wanted it, but they thought people didn't need it. So I get the argument. But I think, at least for me, somebody who, I know I don't make money doing YouTube and stuff, but, my life, all the passwords to everything that is my life is on my phone. The privacy and security of Apple devices, to me, is more important than the, customization options of an Android.
Right.
But customization, more open stuff, more apps, easier to access stuff is better for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I get that. I'm not, I don't think an iPhone is right for everybody. But I think they're right for a lot of people. Love how we went from cryptocurrency to phones, but I mean, it still syncs up, kind of, because it's still talking about Facebook and whether they should be able to access your fucking money.
Right. Well, because there's a crypto project called Electroneum, which I think is a stupid name, but what it is they, most of the world doesn't have access to banks. Have access to phones. People want to mine cryptos, but they can't afford, the graphics cards and the miners and all that.
Which is miners' fault.
Right.
All the people who did want to mine, who could afford graphics cards, made graphics cards so expensive.
Right.
Which pisses me off. It's I think right now to build an actual really good gaming PC, you used to be able to do it, but for between $500 and $700. Graphics cards are $1,000 now.
Right. Well,
and that's just the graphics card. You can't do anything with just a fucking graphics card. So miners kind of fucked up PC building, which is rough.
Right. But so this you can mine from your phone. You download the app. It doesn't actually mine. They tried going that route, but it was when you use
too intense on your CPU.
Right, too intense on the CPU. So it's more of a airdrop. That they drop you so many, and the project is they're airdropping between $2 and $3 a month, so it's not a lot. But you go to Africa. We forget in America that most of the world lives on about $10 a month. If you airdrop $3, I mean, that could change lives. And they've released a bunch of phones, and they're down in South Africa, helping people get these phones. The program's already on it. They can download. They can use that to pay for their phone bill, to keep the phone going, and then they can also bank. They don't have access to bank. Well, here, I'm going to transfer you some money. The app came out on Android
months before Apple.
Oh yeah, I don't even know if Apple. I think they're finally just doing
a beta.
They're getting the beta done.
Yeah. Because Apple is so picky.
Right. So in that regard, but is it hurting people who could benefit from that?
See, maybe, but this sounds weird. But those people in Africa don't need an iPhone.
Well,
for them, an Android phone is better. 100% of the time.
Could be.
But it's also, if you think of it from the company that's giving out these phones, this phone is $1,000.
Right.
You know, there are
Here.
Android phones that you can buy for $50. So that's a big difference for the company dropping them. But also, you don't really want the people who are getting these phones to stop using the app and just sell the phone. Right?
Oh, like they're getting a free. No, I mean, they have to buy the phone.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Makes sense.
but they can offset, I think, the price of the phone with some of that.
Okay.
I think. I guess I don't know that
Right.
for sure. But you're right. You know, but these people, they don't have internet access. They don't have banking access. They don't. You know, so their phone becomes, you know, infinitely more valuable to them than it would, you know, here. Because they do all that stuff.
I guess it depends on what type of person you are, because a lot of people use their phone for everything.
Right?
You know, there are a lot of people who actually can't afford, you know, to actually have internet in their house, so they use their phone service, because, you
A
know,
hotspot.
with a hotspot, because it's fast enough to watch Netflix.
It is. Yeah, I don't know if they.
And so, you know, you have your phone and that's it. And, you know, Apple Pay and Android Pay both exist. So your banking all runs through your
Right.
phone.
Right.
So even here, our phones are.
So then again, are they stopping the adoption of some of these projects because they have Apple Pay and they have
Could be.
iPay?
Well,
And if Apple has that, should Facebook
no.
then? You know,
When's the last time there was ever a security concern from Apple? When was the last time Apple was hacked?
you know,
Facebook was hacked a week ago.
Oh, yeah, Facebook gets hacked all the time.
Apple refuses to let the government look through a terrorist's phone because they believe in their customers' privacy.
Yeah, I'm
But-
sure the government got it anyway, didn't they?
They did. And then with the next just minor software update, Apple countered the thing that was created to get into their phones.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, they got into the terrorist phone, but they can't get in now.
Right.
Apple cares about security.
Yeah, you know, because
And I think Google, who owns Android, does also. But Android is so hard to get to be as secure as iOS just because of the amount, because it's open source and the amount of different, you know, variations of phone that run Android. You know, there's
Right.
also the $50 cheap phone you can buy at Walmart that's running the same Android as what's on your phone right now.
right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're definitely moving into a new world where, you know, on the way over here, you know, we had that trip, and, you know, we're traveling with your mom, and she paid cash, and the gal had to come up with what, like 80?
$80 and change in ones and fives because they didn't have cash in the register.
Yeah, because everybody uses cards these days. I mean, it's all gonna be.
Everything's digital, and you know, within what 10 to 15. Apparently, we're gonna move apparently into some sort of politics because, you know, like Andrew Yang, who's running for president. You're the one who actually, you know, showed me or told me about some of his stuff. But, you know, him talking about AI and automation in all these different areas, not only is it becoming a completely all digital world, but everything. Like, it's not just the stuff we use. Jobs are becoming all digital. Go into a Walmart right now, and there's, instead of, you know, 20 checkout lanes, there's 6. And everything else is self-checkout. You know, Tesla is building semis. You know, Walmart, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, all these companies have already, you know, bought thousands of trucks. Well, those trucks, you know, are designed to run without a driver. For the first maybe 5 years of those trucks being out, yeah, there might be a driver, somebody who sits there to make sure stuff doesn't happen. But all cars are getting automation now. Every car. Like Nissan's new cars have automation. Don't know if I trust it, because...
Yeah, are they running on Android or iOS? Can those be hacked?
You know, it's funny. Tesla, all of their cars, like their lead software engineers, are former Apple software engineers.
Well,
which is nuts. But that's why, like, in a Tesla, like, because everything is run off of the screen in the center console. When you're looking at the speed limit, it's not in front of you. It's a glance to the right, which is weird. Because there's nothing here. But, all of the software just looks like iOS, just because that's what the software engineers know is super clean, but, super strict. This is all it's going to have stuff. But, my biggest thing is Tesla's been working on, automated driving for 10 years. Nissan's been working on it for like 5, probably.
Yeah, and, they might get quickly to a point where the reflexes of these cars will rival humans.
It's already better. But, like, a Tesla's autopilot is, like, 98% effective. But Elon Musk himself said that's not good enough. It's better than humans, but it's not good enough. If all cars are going to be automated, we have to be over 99% effective. There are too many cars on the road for 2% to be a thing, and part of it, I think, a lot of the time, are big trucks, because so much extra can factor into semis and stuff. So Elon Musk has started I think in LA they've started digging new tunnels for underground roads. I think it would be super nice for semis, automated or not, to have their own routes throughout the country, so that they're never on the same roads as people. Because people suck at driving, but one gust of wind and a semi-truck can tip over.
Yeah, what about like ice and weather conditions?
With the AI, it has to, they're always gathering data. The computers, even if, the autopilot is not what's running at the time, it's always gathering data. I think Tesla's solution for ice is the same as, like, traction control in a normal car. So, if one wheel slips, all power is diverted to a different wheel, but snow and ice, I think Teslas are even, lower, like a 94 percentile or something. Can't remember all the numbers off the top of my head, but, AI's taking over everything. And, in 20 years, is there going to be a job that's not entertainment? And not everybody is built to entertain. Not everybody can sit in front of a camera. Not everybody can talk into a microphone. Even though nobody's watching, nobody can really hear you. Some people just can't do it.
So you think the primary jobs are going to be entertainment?
And some software engineers. But there's going to be a time where AI can do it better.
Yeah.
I think a robot can make fast food. It's just frozen. You throw it on a grill. Some restaurants will always have humans. I think chefs are going to exist. Waiters won't.
Yeah, have you ever heard of some of the work on Jacques Fresco? He considers himself like a kind of social engineer. And he would talk about that it's managing, resources the best way. And he said he remember growing up during the as a kid in the Depression, and he would look out and he'd see these factories, but nobody was working. Everybody needed jobs, but nobody could find a job. But these factories are just sitting there empty, and it made no sense. Like, okay, why aren't they working then? And a lot of it's the way we structure our society. I mean, do we need to find a new metric where free time is valued? You're right. We can send a probe to Mars. We could create something that cleans out sewers. Free that person up to pursue whatever they want, be it artistic or entertainment or...
With the rise of AI, I think art and entertainment and that type of thing are the only jobs that are really going to be there.
Well, we still need food. We still need...
Farms are already being taken over by AI. But tractors have been run by an autopilot type thing for years.
Right. But I think you're looking at it from the perspective of this is your passion. Everybody has a passion. Like
right.
if all their needs were met, people would do something.
This is true.
Some people love to farm.
Right.
You talk to some of these old guys that they just love being in the dirt. So like, well, okay, so go do that.
Right. I think we created, we sitting around on your porch one night, we made a weird way society could work where you just follow your passion. You don't pay for anything. There's no money left on the planet. But I think we still forgot to factor in AI.
Well, it makes it happen.
All companies are going to use AI because it's always cheaper because you don't pay a computer anything.
But it's a tool, and it's a tool to make our lives easier and to free ourselves up. And we're getting to the point where, we're
getting too free, and we don't have the money.
And we don't have that support for people. Like all these truckers are going to be losing their jobs. What are they going to do?
Right.
They can't all learn programming. They can't all learn.
Right. Like I love the way Andrew Yang on the Joe Rogan podcast said, these truckers are, 25 to 50-year-old men who are high school dropouts or didn't get a college education at least. You think they're going to want to go back to school and learn how to program? No. Mm-hmm. They're driving truck for a reason. A lot of them really enjoy it.
Right.
But a lot of them also know that it's just a money. There's money, a lot of money involved.
Yeah. And it's a tough job. It's hard on the body. It's not healthy.
Right.
You're away from your family a long time, and there's not a lot of people getting into it.
And you're away from your family for a long time, and all the deadlines. This truck has to be here by this time, so it's not like you get to eat good food. You can't really stay healthy as a truck driver. No, it's impossible.
And then they say, sitting too long, it just messes you up.
Right.
They say it's the new smoking.
Everything's the new smoking.
I mean, that would be wonderful. But I think we're at that point where we do need to look at where society's going. AI, it's algorithms, advanced algorithms that are computing faster and faster, but I don't ever think we're going to create, like a sentient...
no.
It's whatever's programmed in is what you're going to get out.
Right.
And we're just building off of, okay, the 60s, this guy wrote 100 lines of code, so they built off of that and add and add. So
but at some point a computer will be able to write its own code or code for another computer. But I mean...
If it's programmed to write a code.
But I mean, there's only so many programmer jobs. There's only so many jobs anyways. And, what are going to be the first things to go away because of AI? It's going to be retail, jobs in retail and, gas stations, any sort of store.
Yeah, most service jobs.
So the service industry
Right.
leaps, mostly.
Well, and that's because the AI, automation has already taken over
A lot of
a
things.
lot of the manufacturing.
Right.
Most of the manufacturing that hasn't been shipped overseas, automation has cost a lot of those jobs, and now that's
Now it's trickling down to
service industries,
and then truck drivers.
number one employer.
Right. And then
So-
truck drivers are next, It's going to be a long time, I think, before AI or automation takes over some more manual labor jobs, like a mechanic. Just because there's many different things you have to do as a mechanic, I think that, that type of thing is going to be last, or one of the later things to get to. But, at least from my perspective, programmers have to exist if automation's going to work, right? And then entertainment, I don't think a robot can do that. I don't think anybody wants to listen to a robot talk to them
No.
for days.
Well, some people.
Maybe.
I mean, there's some people I'd rather listen to a robot than listen to.
Fair enough, but, or, watching TV and it's nothing but robots. There's no humans. There's no real human experience in the
Right,
show. There's
right.
nothing to connect to. You can't connect to a robot.
Right, but if people have more free time to pursue their passion, would they be more fulfilled and not need to escape
Yeah, probably.
as much as the level that we need to do today? You got these
Right
families,
now,
both parents are working and they come home and they're beat.
Right now, all I do is pursue my passion. I never need a break.
God, I mean, do you ever just, I just need to relax and watch an hour of TV just to zone out?
No, I do that. That's not because I need to. It's just I kind of want to. I got my work done.
And it seems like
Also-
a lot of the media is just repeating shit we've done in the 80s and 90s. And
All the
it's like
media-
they've run out of ideas. Maybe AI would come up with better ideas.
See, I think with movies, mainstream movies, there's only so far you can go. There's only so much you can do. So many ideas that haven't been done. Or, even if the movie hasn't been done, like, look at Star Wars, the original Star Wars, so A New Hope, and then
Okay.
Episode 7. How everybody says they're exactly alike.
They're
Well, if
pretty
you look at
similar.
it, no, they're really not. Like, they are very far apart in actuality. But there's a lot of hints and subtleties that are cues that make you remember the old movie. But so no matter what you do now, I think there have been so many movies made that if you make a movie, somebody's going to say, "Oh, well, they copied this from this movie. They copied this from, this TV show." I think there's only so much you can do, and that's why superhero movies are so big. Is because the stories have already been written. Millions of hours of story is already there. That's why the superhero movies are the biggest thing in the world. It's because they don't have to copy each other. Nothing copies. Like, look at all of the different Spider-Man movies. They've made 7 of them with different Spider-Men. They're all completely different. None of them are even remotely alike. So, superheroes are easy because everything was written first. Game of Thrones, the books were written first. So that's about all that's left is either adapt books or make movies we already made better or worse.
Right.
But how you think it's going to be better. It's a lot easier to make a YouTube video that nobody's seen before.
Yeah.
Because it's all, you're not Not only is it all creativity, but there's no one to tell you, well, you can't do that because it won't make money. Well, you can't do that because I think, there's no superior person there to tell you, well, I think it should be this way. No. You make whatever the fuck you want. You do whatever you think is best. That's why individual creators or indie movies, really low budget, always end up kind of crappy, but the story's kind of cool.
Oh, yeah, like Clerks. It was amazing. And completely original.
Right. Because there's no upper person whose only goal is money. It's all a passion project. Passion projects are always better. So if people have more time to just create, movies would get better. Yeah. Media would get better. I think if people were doing whatever they loved, crime goes down.
Right.
And if everything's covered, crime goes down a lot. No one needs to rob and steal from people.
So, do you think episode 4 was Lucas's passion project, which I think it was?
I think the original
versus 7, which was, I think, probably more about money, because by then Disney,
Lucas didn't own it. Lucas had no part in it. So I think 1 through 6 were all Lucas's passion project. He had it all written. Mm-hmm. The way he described, because there's that giant, 20-year gap between 3 and 4. Mm-hmm. The way he described it was, for 1 through 3, it was the end of the brightest time in the universe. All sorts of crazy technology, peace through most of the galaxy. There's always going to be fights because that's how it works. That's how people are. But, mostly peace, lots of technology. But when the Empire takes over, it's a dictatorship. So, the reason he wanted to make 4, 5, and 6 first is because he had the technology at the time to make the post-apocalyptic world, basically, that he wanted real. And then in the 2000s, when CGI was better, he had the chance to make the big, vibrant world or universe that he envisioned of what was there before Palpatine, before Vader, before they had full control. So it was a passion project. But when Disney got it, the first thing they wanted to do, what they said was, fix the prequels, because nobody liked the prequels. Lots of people did. But lots of people complained about them too, because the originals were better. So they did want to take, a lot of cues from the original 3, just because, people would like it more and they'd see the stuff. But then it's all about money. You add characters just for merchandising, like the little droid who rolls around, or the little porg chicken
BB-8.
Bird things. Yeah. BB-8, the porgs, that's all just merchandising. That's all just, we want to make money off of this. Yeah. So, when George Lucas was basically funding it himself, it was a passion project, and he wasn't going to let somebody tell him he couldn't do it how he wanted.
Right. Yeah, and he had to develop a lot of that technology, too, to create it.
Yup.
I can't argue with that. I think, I think there's a lot more similarities between 4 and 7. At least for me. I mean, when I was watching it, I'm like, okay, so instead of the Death Star, it's a planet. They're taking a small team in. They gotta shut down the, it's almost, and instead of Obi-Wan getting killed, it's Han Solo.
Right. I can't remember all the points from the video I watched that made too much sense on all the counters for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
because at least at the time, Vader killing Obi-Wan meant nothing. 30 years later, when the prequels came out, and you figure out stuff, then it meant something.
Yeah.
But when you watch the first Star Wars, Vader killing Obi-Wan meant nothing. You didn't think, oh, that's revenge or something. It was just, oh, the bad guy killed the good guy. That's different. Whereas, no matter if that's the first Star Wars movie you watched or the last, the son killing his father to, lose all the good in himself is different.
Right,
It's
right.
more. It's the moments may look the same, but the actual meaning behind them are totally different.
So, you touched on a point of, humans always fighting.
It's what beings do.
That's what we do. Is that true, or is that programmed into us?
It's it's our nature. It's the nature of almost every creature on this planet,
Right. It's to survive.
and to fight for power.
Well, I don't know. I think, we're programmed. They found these things, called mirror neurons in humans and dogs and whales and some other creatures that allow us to feel the plight of others. And we know about this. I mean, we watch a horror movie. We are perfectly safe sitting in a theater, but we feel scared. Or in their house. When we feel scared, we feel anxious. Our heart rate, goes. We're
Saying
wired.
something good happened to a superhero makes you feel excited. You feel just as happy as they are, or more happy.
Right? We're wired to experience the plight of others.
It's empathy.
Empathy. But we have not built a society based on empathy. If anything, it stifles empathy. It's almost like it's getting bred out in a lot of ways. Where people.
See, I think. See, is it programmed into us, or is it? Think about every war ever.
Yeah, it's been about
What's behind it?
money, power,
Or
you know,
you're forgetting one other piece.
survival.
No,
What's what? What do you?
this man in the sky, big white beard, robes.
Oh,
Which war
religions.
wasn't about it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, believe
Or some
in
religion.
religions.
Yeah, my God can beat up your God. Now I'm gonna kill you.
Well, I mean, you have to. I make the argument that, most people would travel. For most of human history, humans would travel in herds or tribes
Pack animals.
pack animals of about 50, to 75. Most of the family, most of them are related. And then after it gets so big, they tend to branch off, start their own. And these tribes would meet, and they'd come together. And they would talk about, well, how do you think we're here? It's like, oh, we came on the back of a giant turtle, and we're all ancestors of that. Or the sky made, love to the earth, and we're the children. And they're like, oh, well, that's a good story. Well, we believe this.
We live in the eye of a blue-eyed giant, and that's why the sky is blue.
But somebody had to have had that original. No, my story's correct. My story's the only one. And if you don't believe in my story, that gives me the right to kill you, which is a really weird thought. And I think it'd be this self-talk that people would do to justify coveting resources, essentially. And those people have spread across the globe and have done that to almost every native culture. And that's us. I mean, we have that in us, that thought that if you don't believe
The way I believe.
way I believe, that gives me that you're less somehow. You know, is that the analogy of original sin
Could be.
in the Bible? You know, Cain killed Abel. And can we recognize that in ourselves as a flaw, something to be worked on? That, you know, because right now, I mean, it doesn't seem like anybody agrees with with anyone over anything. And, you know, we live in this society that it's, you know, turn it back, you know, to Facebook.
Full circle.
Full circle. It's like we're very good at creating mobs. I heard this guy talk about this phenomenon with social media. You know, it's a relatively new technology, and nobody knows quite how to work it yet. Nobody knows quite how to be responsible with it yet. All we know how to do is create mobs and go after people who aren't part of our clan or our tribe or have the same beliefs that we do. And it's not helping anybody. You know, can we take a pause and be like, oh, that's an interesting thought. That's a great thought. This is what I believe. And sit down and have civil discourse.
No. And I don't know.
Why not? Have we forgot? Did you stop it? Or?
No.
Okay.
I think that's just I don't know if that can ever be changed from humans.
Why not? We would have to. It would take a shift in consciousness.
It would take
You know,
religions believing in what they're actually taught. I'm sorry, but like this sounds bad, but and I don't mean it to offend people, but it will because it's because that's what people do. They get offended now. But like Christians in the Bible, you're taught what? Don't judge, right? You're never supposed to judge others. Who are the most judgmental people in the world?
Yeah.
Christians. Judging gay people, telling them they're going to go to hell, whatever. It's not your job to judge them. You are not supposed to treat them any differently if you actually believed the fucking religion you followed.
Right.
But people have these beliefs about whatever. That my God is whatever. That your God is, shit. Whatever. But they only follow the parts of their beliefs that benefit them. I think humans are a pack animal to a point, but that everyone is also out only for themselves, to make their lives easier. Make everything they think about easier. You're always looking for a path to justify everything you do.
Well, I think it goes, that sense of belonging, that sense to be part of a tribe. Hey, we're part of this Christian tribe. We form this unified front in our beliefs and our understanding, and if you're not
but I only accept
part of
about
that,
half of it. But I call myself a Christian so I can be part of this group.
Right. I get it. That's why people join gangs. That's why people do drugs. I mean, if you're doing drugs, you have a drug family. It's that need to bond, and people. I like all religions because deep down they all teach fundamental truths.
They don't teach morality.
Don't lie. Don't steal. Don't kill people.
Don't judge people.
Because we're all one.
Right.
I think people get hung up on the stories. And a lot of times it's a good way to, you know, collect mobs, to get an agenda done.
Create an army.
And more people, you're right, have probably been killed in the name of religions than
Anything else ever.
but
Look at just
it,
World War II. Hitler. It wasn't just he was reshaping the world in the vision of his God. God spoke to him.
maybe
George Bush was always talking about how God was talking to him.
it
The Crusades. Yeah, right there.
yeah, I'm trying to think how to phrase this. When religion does something to the psyche is that it opens that door to if I think that there's somebody judging me, somebody watching me, I'm going to modify my behavior. That opens that crack to for kings, for governments, because it's essentially the same thing. We're going to be the authority. We're watching you, and you better modify your behavior into what we say. If you do it for religion, it's not that hard of a step to follow a king, and especially when most kings and governments and leaders call forth that divine in God we trust. I'm the Egyptians, I think, would use it too. They think I'm actually a God incarnate, and so in that regard, again, it's probably not a good thing. But every religion has a version of the Ten Commandments.
Every religion has a Virgin Mary also.
Yeah, there's a lot of the same stories.
That's true, but whatever.
Are they metaphors to teach us stories on how to live?
Do you ever notice that some of the oldest true religions aren't just one God? It's all multiple gods. Everything is a god.
Like the
Greek mythology.
Right.
It's older than Christianity. It's older than Islam.
Right.
It's older than Buddhism.
Right, but do some of these multiple gods represent the different aspects of
Life.
of human too?
Could be.
Humans have a warring side. We have a loving side. We have a kind of democratic side, or a side that solves problems. Are they metaphors? I don't know. But the cool thing is we'll all find out someday.
Yeah.
But yeah, religion is a slippery slope. I mean, if you choose a path, you're like, okay, I'm getting with this herd, and no matter where that herd follows, you tend to follow with, and
you stop caring. You stop questioning, so you stop caring about, even some of the things that religion teaches, all because, you're following the herd. But the herd there's always the alpha. There's always the leader. You were talking about, like tribes, how they'd split up, about 50 people, and then you'd get more than that, and you'd start branching out. The whole tribe didn't sit down and talk. It would be your leader of the tribe they would sit down and talk. There's always the leader, the voice of the people. And the like, for a religion, if there's a man saying he's talked to God, or, go with a different religion, I don't know, a man claiming he spoke to Zeus and this is what Zeus wants us to do, or something like that, you're gonna follow that guy. There's no proof that any of that happened, but somebody will say they believe him. And once one person believes you, another one does. And then, two people believe him. Well, I'll believe him.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you're on the slippery slope of this guy who, whether he talked to a god or not, it doesn't matter. He has the power to make people do whatever he wants and just say, because our God told me that this needed to happen. Mm-hmm. So I think the power, whether there is a god, multiple gods, whatever, I think the power of just some being just saying that he said or she said that this is what needs to happen, and herds of people doing it in the name of somebody that there's no way for you to know that they are real, is insane.
Right, but
is it
it's always been easier.
Thing, or just is it truly a pack animal thing?
It could
or
be.
Just a need for, whether it's belonging, or is it that humans are, because we are so, conscious, I guess, about things, that we are extra worried about what happens after we die. And that nobody wants to accept or believe that it just ends. It meant nothing. For me, that gives me peace. Because if there's nothing afterwards, there can't be any more pain, right?
Right.
It's just nothing. It's peace. But some people can't live with that. They need the idea of, I need to follow these rules so I can get to this better place. Or, I need to follow these rules because in my next life, I'm going to be, a cow that gets mauled by a bear. Or I'm going to be, this rich person. Or I'm going to be a planet or something. Mm-hmm. Is it that people need something to believe in that makes them fear death less?
I suppose some of that comes into it. The unknown is always fearful.
Right.
Whether it's, the next ridge or people who look different, or strangers to us. But it has always been easier to convince a group of people than it is just one.
Right.
I think, we got to talk about the feeling of evanescence, or evanescence, where you've been to concerts or sporting events, everybody's,
so
together,
into it, and you're into
and
it.
you feel it, and you just know you're part of something bigger than you at that moment.
Right.
And that's one of the best feelings in the world.
Right.
And has governments, kings, dictators, religions capitalized on that to get people to do what they want.
Right.
And if so,
hey, go to a
why,
fucking concert.
So
Don't go to a war.
So maybe, maybe tribe. Maybe we should say colony.
Maybe it's just,
I don't
know if any of that's right.
Are we set up more like
maybe everything we
ants, where there's a king and workers, and
or are our lives just about wanting something bigger than us?
Well, why have
Like a god.
like why does every culture have a god then? You know,
Because they want
is there
something bigger than them.
well, is there
But they also
something intrinsic in us that we know that we're part of something bigger, and we don't quite understand it? We don't have the physics yet figured out, and so we try to describe it in ways. You know, the law of conservation. You know, energy can't be, you know, created nor destroyed, only converted. You know, so to say that we're just done, it seems almost too simple.
Okay, but I think we're reading into, is our consciousness, our sentience, is that energy? Because
Everything's energy. This table's energy.
right,
This
we
mind-
are energy, but our brain is what causes sentience. It's a certain lobe of the brain
No, I don't know.
that
if we
will
really know
turn
that.
to dust when we die.
You know, I went to
Why are jellyfish not sentient?
you know
They don't have a fucking brain.
to a talk, and he made this point. You know, therapists, you know, psychotherapists, and
Psycho the rapist.
you know, we're in this field, and we don't have a clear definition of the mind. Like, where does it come from? And most people just have, yeah, you know, okay, the brain is there, has all these cells, and abracadabra, it makes consciousness, right?
Neurons and their connections and
But we don't know that process. Over here, way on this other side of the spectrum, we have physics. And they are coming up with a definition of the mind and consciousness. And they needed to do that because it keeps fucking with their equations. Consciousness, you know, can act in a lot of ways almost like a force. And if they, you know, the double slit experiment, if they were observing it, these photons would act like a wave, and then if nobody was observing it, it'd act like a particle, and it was essentially the observer collapses it into, you know, the wave function. You've seen that. I think a lot of people have heard of it. If not, look it up. It's pretty interesting. There is, at some point, consciousness, you know, barring an external force outside the universe, like a God providing us this consciousness, then it has to be part of this universe, and it has to intersect with everything. You know, the stuff that matters. So, you know, Einstein called it the unified field. Max Planck called it the matrix. But there's this lattice that everything's made out of. You know, you and me, this table, planets hundreds of millions of light years away. There's stuff connecting it. You know, that they're doing. You know, we talked about quantum teleportation that one night. That they're messing with this stuff. You know, they're building quantum computers. So we know this phenomenon exists.
so then why is it like I then that when anybody dies, like dies for a, you know, a minute, an hour, or whatever, you know, other than the really weird, you know, 1% of people who say they see something, why does everybody else, when asked, say nothing happens?
I don't know. I mean,
You know, it's like you're asleep. It's just nothingness.
a lot of people do have experiences. And how come all those experiences are similar?
But they're not.
You know, it's
You know,
some.
but and a lot of them can be explained by science
It can.
already. Like
You know?
weird, the whole life flashing before your eyes thing is weird. But who see you say you experience that, but I've had near death experiences. Never seen my life flash before my eyes. Not in the sense of how people make it where I saw everything I ever did. No. I saw, oh fuck, I'm dead. And whatever was causing that. I don't know. It's super hard to understand, but I don't believe there's some guy in white robes and sandals with a big ass beard that's just snapping his fingers and making shit happen.
Right, like what would be the purpose? Why do that? What's the
For entertainment, he got bored.
you know? But I do believe, that we're beginning to understand a lot of the nature of the universe and how thought emerges, and I don't know, there's a lot of I'm consciousness. I'm talking to you right now. I'm having an experience, whether you want to call it soul, spirit, awareness, whatever. I like consciousness. I'm having an experience. I'm assuming you're in a consciousness. I mean, you're here
I've
talking to
spoken
me.
to you. I've,
You could be a figment of my imagination. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I believe a dog is a consciousness.
Because they have experience.
They're alive. They eat. They show a lot of
Does
emotion.
a tree have consciousness? It's alive,
Yeah, maybe.
but it doesn't show emotion.
Right. What about a fish? Salmon, man, they travel thousands of miles to come back and spawn on the exact spot that they were born. I can't do that. That's pretty trippy.
That's just weird.
What about a jellyfish? If you had a live jellyfish or a rock and a fire, I think you would have a definite difference of experience throwing the rock into the fire versus throwing a jellyfish in. They can move, they can sting, they can kill, they eat, but yet there's no
Wait for them to show
central
emotion.
nervous system or spinal cord.
Or a brain.
What about a bacteria? Granted, like our consciousness, a human consciousness might fill this whole house, and a bacteria might just, fill a little pinprick, But bacteria can kill, they reproduce. So, what about an element? What if something being conductive, being able to transfer heat, react, is that at some level a conscious reaction to stimuli? I don't know. That one's hard for me to get. I've a hard enough time with the small bacteria.
Right.
So, what if we went down, right? Here's humans. Break down dog, fish, bacteria, jellyfish. All right. So what if we, safe to say, we're middle of the road? What if we were to go up? Okay. What if, there was a point, if we believe the Big Bang Theory, that, you, me, everything on Earth.
All the energy / matter ever
Everything.
was in
About the size of a grape.
Yep.
What kind of consciousness would that have?
Did it have consciousness?
And if that was a consciousness, how would it want to spend eternity? You would want to experience everything. Experience it all. But in order to have an experience, you need a point of reference. Like if I want to see the sunset, I literally have to get out and look at the sunset. So the universe spread itself out a little bit. You know, to us it seems like a lot, but we're small. The universe is big. But they're still connected. You know, that we're still entwined, you know, entangled. And that would explain a lot of, you know, the weird behavior, you know, the following, and the mirror neurons. And we're here just to have an experience.
What were those particles? Not mirror neurons, but the like twin particles that would.
Oh, they're quantumly entangled stuff.
Where if you know one moves here, the other one moves.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
they're constantly in communication, millions of miles apart.
Yeah. Cliff Hyde. You like Cliff Hyde? You ever watch any of his stuff?
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's talking about trying to build a computer on that. You know, can we communicate with these entangled particles with
I think
things, millions of.
But I mean, there's that idea. There's also, what if we're a computer simulation?
There's, you know, compelling thoughts on that.
You know, when you walk
which
into
wouldn't
a
be
room
the
and
same
you
thing.
forget what you believe, like forget why you were there. Your programming got changed. The input you were supposed to do got canceled.
So, like the Matrix theory.
Kinda. You know.
I don't know. But I like to think, you know, that we're just the universe discovering itself, having every experience, and when we're done, we go back to that experience. You know, a lot of people who take, you know, DMT, who have undergone hypnosis. There's
I think
similar
we talked
stories.
about this once.
Yeah.
But the way we were describing it, we were saying like soul families because some guy, I can't remember who it was, but like a hypnotherapist or whatever, had patients that, like the one guy had a random back pain or whatever.
Right.
You know, he put him through hypnosis and tried to find where this happened. And, you know, the guy said, you know, battlefield, seems like World War One. This is my whatever, and then he got bayoneted through there. And the therapist guy, who heard all that, didn't believe it. Then he looked up, you know, who this guy said he was, and the serial number, and found out that guy got bayoneted in the back, right where this guy's having back pain. And then the one girl from the same therapist, who he traced her back apparently to the in-between stage of life. She came to Earth.
She was suffering from like always feeling lost, always feeling alone.
I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And the trace back, whether you believe it or not, it's still weird. That, you know, there was a soul family and I did come to this life before I was supposed to.
Or it just didn't meet up.
Right.
You know, because...
Or it came to the wrong, you know, point in time. Or, you know, place in the universe. Maybe you weren't even supposed to be a human. You were supposed to be an alien race trillions of light years away.
Yeah. So if you believe that, you know, that energy can't be destroyed nor converted, destroyed nor created, only converted. Are we converted different times, different light, you know, multiple universes? And the purpose is to learn lessons. And sometimes it's our turn to learn the lesson, and sometimes maybe it's our parents' turn. That to me sounds more like an eternity. A way to spend it. So maybe you and me are like, hey, let's go hang out on this economic slave planet that's on the verge of destruction. Think of all the lessons we could learn. Imagine, having a talk about cars that drive themselves, and should our social media use, magical internet money?
Right.
There's a lot of lessons, a lot of integrity building. There's a lot of challenges to tear down what's really important, and that's we all come from the same shit. We're all one. And maybe after this is done, it's like, wow, that was great. Let's go back and be one of those rich guys.
All right.
Learn those lessons that only being a multi-billionaire can learn. And then, hey, let's go back and be one of those kids in Africa who's
Dies at 6 years old.
right. That's an amazing lesson.
Well, that was great talk. We've been going for almost 2 hours. I think
Oh,
we
really?
need
What
to-
time is it?
About 1:30.
All right.
So about an hour and a half. So I think we need to call it there. Just
All right.
because we shouldn't be too psychotic. It was quite a scuffed podcast. I hope it actually works.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, it's a fun conversation regardless.
Yep.